July 29, 1967. The aircraft carrier USS Forrestal was deployed near Vietnam. Shortly before 11 in the morning, an uncontrolled electrical surge inadvertently launched a Zuni rocket from an F-4 Phantom jet. The weapon struck another jet. Within seconds, burning fuel and exploding bombs turned the flight deck into a fiery death trap. Sailors rushed to battle the blaze, only to encounter more explosions and a deadly inferno. It took nearly 14 hours to extinguish the blaze. More than 50 planes were damaged or destroyed, and 134 of the Forrestal's crew died or went missing. In the carrier's most dangerous situations, one team is on the front line. The EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal. From defusing a damaged bomb to handling unexploded ammunition, EOD takes the greatest risks of anyone on the ship.
Our motto is initial success or total failure, and that summarizes pretty much what we do.
One task, defusing underwater mines, requires a helocast. A Seahawk helicopter ride deep into the open ocean. Out here, kilometers from the carrier, the team runs an intense drill, jumping into the water, then climbing back into the low-flying helicopter.
Obviously there's some risk, but it's a challenge. It's fun to do, to work with some of those guys, jump them out of the helo, and then pick them up.
Safety's not just for the EOD crew. Emergency preparedness is a task every sailor on this supercarrier takes very seriously.
Step it up, let's go!
It's a routine part of life in the Navy. To prepare for emergencies, the crew of the USS Ronald Reagan constantly runs practice drills, sometimes daily. And because they're being watched and graded by their superiors, they're under pressure to perform perfectly. To Captain Terry Kraft, safety drills are a key part of life on the Reagan.
You know, this ship can come under attack at any time, and that's why we are constantly drilling and preparing for anything that might happen. The more you drill people, the more they're confident, they absolutely know their roles, the better they're going to be, you know, in a time of crisis.
At least once a week, the ship goes to general quarters, a readiness condition where the crew practices drills to ensure the ship's survival.
Beat it up,
General quarters is called away anytime the ship encounters missile attacks or torpedoes, and that's basically used to set up the highest state of readiness.
While crew members simulate attack, damage and fire with flags, another team sets out to assess the ship's damage and confronts and smothers the blaze. Several times a year, the Reagan's crew runs the mass casualty drill, a simulation where sailors are injured or dead.
We got a tourniquet on you, we're controlling bleeding, we got morphine on board for your pain, you're gonna be all right.
Hurt in your stomach? You hurt anywhere else?
All right, we got open femur fracture, hypotensive.
Lieutenant Margaret Brockman is one of the ship's medical officers.
What we run is a drill as though a plane has crashed, and today we have 50 casualties on the deck.
All right, make sure you notate the card, what time the tourniquet was applied, what time the morphine was given.
The medical crew goes to work on the casualties, removing them from the flight deck. It's a massive operation, and one they must practice to prepare for an emergency.
He's got an impaled object. His stable object is secured, so he's a delayed, just came down.
The Ronald Reagan's been lucky. We've never had need of an actual mass casualty. We shoot hundreds of planes a day, and it doesn't even need to be a combat operation. If one of those planes misses, that's a mass casualty.
The wet training is an important drill. Out at sea, an enemy torpedo attack or even a burst pipe can cause a flood. The first crew members on the scene must block the water with their bodies. Then a repair crew arrives and hammers wood wedges into the pipe to plug the leak. The wedges are sawed off, leaving just enough wood in the hole to stop the water. A rubber patch and some twine finish the job. It's an exhausting and very real simulation, but one that will help this ship survive a disaster at sea. Combat aircraft, weaponry and safety drills are just part of this supercarrier's arsenal of war. Next, we'll look at the USS Ronald Reagan's first line of defense, a powerful phalanx of ships that protect and defend her from attack. To the enemy, it's a big floating target in the middle of the ocean. That's why carrier defense is a top priority for Captain Terry Craft.
We've got a lot of ways to help defend this ship against an enemy attack. Layered defense is the key. Good intelligence of what's out there is going to be the key to defending this ship should we have to.
The Reagan's layered defense depends on the carrier's strike group. A group of up to 8 smaller ships that work together to surround and shield the Reagan from enemy attack.
An aircraft carrier strike group is a lot like a symphony orchestra. There are many pieces of that orchestra that operate independently, and yet they have to blend together.
Some of the most powerful ships in the US Navy come along when the Reagan ventures out on deployment. One or more Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers. They're highly maneuverable strike ships that guard the carrier from attack. The group also includes a Ticonderoga-class guided missile cruiser. Its crew closely monitors their radars, looking for threats. Her firepower includes 13-centimeter guns and radar-guided Tomahawk missiles. These regular weapon tests assure Captain Sean O'Connor the cruiser is ready to do its job.
Quite frankly, the U.S. Navy built this ship to defend the aircraft carrier. That's why we have it, that's why it's here, that's why I am always within eyesight, 10 miles or so away from that carrier. And my primary mission in life is to make sure she is properly defended.
Finally, prowling nearby, there's always at least one highly classified Los Angeles-class submarine. Its mission, seek out and destroy hostile enemy ships and subs. The strike group's ships form a powerful shield around the Reagan. But the carrier's first line of defense, its outermost circle, is the air wing. Flying out to a 400-kilometer radius, the F-18s protect the carrier against air and surface threats. Nearby, the Prowler identifies and jams enemy radar signals so they can't find the Reagan, while the Hawkeye acts like an early warning system. Its radar sweeps around the strike group, picking up distant threats from as far as 400 kilometers away.
I'd like to go ahead and now bring it south very slowly.
Inside the Hawkeye, the 3-person surveillance crew processes threat identification picked up from the radars and relays it to the F-18s and the strike group ships.
201 and 22. Got it.
We're really kind of like a node for the air wing and the strike group, and a lot of information goes through us and comes out of us in order for everybody to execute their mission more effectively.
There's one more layer to the Reagan's defense. The Combat Direction Center, or CDC, an operations center on board the Reagan itself. Here, in a room next to the carrier's island, Tactical Action Officer Tom Jacobson monitors radar and keeps in close contact with the Hawkeye and the rest of the strike group, looking for potential threats.
We track all of the surface and subsurface and air tracks all around us using all of our radars, and we're pretty much the yard dog for the Ronald Reagan, make sure nobody gets in their yard.
To defend the ship, the Tactical Action Officer can call on the F-18 strike fighters. Anything that gets past the planes will have to face the Reagan's radar-guided ordnance, like the Sea Sparrow missile. Fired from one of two launchers on either side of the flight deck, these 3.5-meter-long weapons can fly more than 4,000 kilometers per hour to intercept enemy missiles or aircraft.
Well, the radars will track a guy all the way in, and we'll determine if he's hostile. And if so, at a certain point, we'll make the determination that we need to use the missiles to unhostile him real quick. And our mission is to make sure that the Ronald Reagan doesn't take the first hit. Fire!
Fire! American military leaders send the USS Ronald Reagan out on deployment at sea for months at a time. But when deployment ends, the crew has to prepare the ship for its time off. That's when they conduct one of their most complicated operations.
Yeah, these are all Conrep, right? Yes, sir.
Offloading most of the ship's 4.5 million kilograms of explosive ordnance.
When we get ready to put the ship into a maintenance period, which is coming up for us, we'll take a lot of the ammunition off in order to free up some of the spaces to do the work that we need to do. And then once we deploy again, we'll load that ammunition back on.
The first task, clear the hangar bay to make room for huge stacks of ammunition. To do this, the crew moves every plane to the front end of the flight deck and parks them only centimeters apart. The plane's combined weight causes the ship to lean to one side. So the ship's engineers balance the supercarrier by pumping water and jet fuel to the other side. The carrier's crew begins the operation by shooting 4 pairs of lines across the 48.77-meter gap.
We shoot shot lines, which are just very small, thin lines of a nylon cord, and then we pull those cords over with bigger line and then bigger line, and finally we pull over the big heavy wire.
When the Reagan's weapons are ready, a Navy ammunition ship comes alongside, and stacks of ordnance make the 48.77-meter journey across. To make the transfer, both the carrier and the supply ship must maintain a constant speed and an exact distance of 48.77 meters apart for 3 to 6 hours. If the ships stray off course, the wires could stretch and snap, recoiling like a deadly whip.
The longer you do it, the more chances of a safety mishap happening. So we want to do it as safe and as smooth as possible.
Helicopters also help out. By ferrying bombs through the air.
It's dangerous. The ordnance we're moving is heavy. Some of the loads up in excess of 3,500 pounds, and it takes a lot of skill And moving the aircraft, a lot of hands-on work, it wears you out pretty quickly.
After 3 days, the ammo offload is complete. When the ammunition is gone and the last aircraft mission has been flown, the USS Ronald Reagan heads for home. These sailors have been at sea for more than 3 months, and they're ready for the deployment to end.
How's your family doing?
Good, sir.
Good?
Good. The boys are getting big.
How old are they?
They'll be 3 in August, sir.
Yeah.
We have been underway a lot. The hard part about that you just can't get around, it's hard on the families. So we're looking forward to getting home.
The ship sails back towards her home port in San Diego, California. But first, it makes an important stop at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. To honor American sailors lost here during World War II, the Reagan's crew mans the rails for close to 2 hours, including a 15-minute salute to the USS Arizona Memorial. Five days after the stop in Hawaii, the USS Ronald Reagan sails into its home port in San Diego. On shore, families wait patiently for the crew to return. The long months apart make the homecoming an emotional experience. According to Navy tradition, sailors who've become new fathers during deployment are the first on shore. It's a powerful experience as they meet their newborn children for the first time. They've called this ship home for months. Now they disembark to return to their families. This supercarrier's mission is complete. But it won't be long before the USS Ronald Reagan, the world's largest mobile combat airport, is back out at sea.